everyone, I'm the Canadian lad, and I just watched the final episode of WandaVision at 0.25 big speed. Boy, what an ending that was. Lads, I'll be really honest, okay? I might have shed a tear or two while watching this episode. In the words of Paul Bettany, this was truly bonkers. I'm gonna break it down scene by scene, explain everything that happened, and also reveal the hidden Easter eggs that I found. So there's gonna be some major spoilers ahead, so if you haven't watched this episode yet, please come back once you have. And I'll also let you know I found way more details towards the end of this video, so make sure to watch it till the end. Now before I begin, I'd like to thank Raycon for sponsoring this video. If you're still using wired headphones in 2021, let me give you a few reasons why you should drop the wires and pick up a pair of Raycon wireless earbuds. Raycon earbuds give you 6 hours of playtime, have seamless Bluetooth pairing, lots of bass, and a compact design which lets you take them anywhere with ease. I sometimes like to throw on a podcast when I'm doing things around the house or if I just need a break from screen time. And with no dangling wires to worry about and a noise isolating fit, it allows me to be hands-free and listen with ease. These earbuds come in a variety of colors and patterns with various fit options, and they come in at half the price of other earbuds without compromising quality. I love that Raycon was co-founded by Ray J and has been raved about by celebrities like Snoop Dogg and Mike Tyson. And there's literally a 45-day free return policy. That's how confident Raycon is with their earbuds. So click in the link in the description or visit buyraycon.com/CanadianLad. You'll be getting 15% off your Raycon purchase. So today's episode begins exactly where episode 8 ended. Agatha Harkness tries her best to provoke Wanda so that she unleashes her magic, which Agatha will slowly absorb.
They take power from the undeserving.
That's what Agatha kept doing for the most part of this episode. Her intention has finally been made clear. She wants to possess Wanda's powers and become the Scarlet Witch herself. She thinks Wanda doesn't deserve her powers because she doesn't even know her own capabilities. But while trying to make Wanda realize just how much unaware she is, Agatha unleashes the real Scarlet Witch. More about it in a minute. The more Wanda keeps attacking Agatha with her power, the more Agatha seems to absorb it, resulting in this almost burned-like skin that we've seen happen before as well, with these witches who also tried to kill Agatha Harkness. So basically, whoever tries to kill or attack Agatha, she sucks the life out of them. But notice, no matter how much she tries, she just couldn't consume all of Wanda. Whereas in Salem, when Agatha sucked the life out of all the witches, they were literally dead. But Wanda still lives, which proves just how much strong she is. Anyway, Agatha promises Wanda that she will let her have this fantasy world in return of her power.
And I'll let you keep this pathetic little corner of the world all to yourself.
Wanda uses a car to slam Agatha into this house. I mean, Wanda and throwing cars, that's like one of the classics in the MCU now. Underneath the car, we see the boots of Agatha Harkness, which is a clear reference of Wizard of Oz, where a dark witch was killed when a house crashed upon her, leaving only her boots sticking out. This is intended as a prank by Agatha and a way of mocking Wanda. Wanda then meets Hayward's Vision for the first time, who I'll call White Vision for the rest of the video, so you and I are both on the same page. White Vision strokes Wanda's hair, but notice what Wanda says here just a moment earlier.
Is it really you?
The fact that Wanda is still confused takes us all the way back to when this fake Pietro arrived. She's so crippled by her own magical abilities that she now confuses reality with her own fake creation. For a moment, she really thought this is how Vision truly looks like now, until he started squeezing her head really hard. Red Vision appears and quickly saves Wanda. So this is the moment Paul Bettany has been trolling us for since beginning of the series? But if you watch all my breakdowns of WandaVision, not once did I mention about this big cameo that Paul has been talking about. Because to me, it just seemed a bit odd that someone working for Marvel is telling us to expect a big cameo at the end. If this was really true, I don't think Marvel would have allowed him to say it. Anyway, we get the first battle between Red and White Vision, as I had speculated in my previous video. Wanda and Red Vision both come to terms that this is their home and they will fight for it. But Agatha makes a really cheeky comment here.
Your ex and your boyfriend together at the same party. Who are you gonna choose, Wanda?
While all of this were happening, Monica was seeing it all from a window, where fake Pietro has apparently taken Monica hostage. He's not letting her go anywhere. But notice what he says.
No one can hear you from in here.
So this proves that my theory from episode 7's breakdown is in fact true. Because of Agatha's spell, you can't really hear anything from outside. Neither can the outside world hear anything happening inside, which is why Billy said he liked it there, because it's all quiet, including Agatha Harkness, who is quiet on the inside. Cut to the fight between Vision and White Vision. Now notice the first thing he says to White Vision.
Might we resolve this peacefully?
Might we resolve this peacefully? His first offer is literally how they later resolved their fight. I'll talk more about it in a minute. Now, outside the hex, Hayward is tracking both Vision's movements, but notice White Vision's signals appear white, whereas Wanda's vision appears to be the same color as the Mind Stone, because that's what this vision is made of. Hayward arrests Agent Wu for breaking the laws apparently, and Wu couldn't care less. He sneaks in the cell phone with him so that he can later call his friend at Quantico. But pay attention to this short conversation between Hayward and one of his officers.
Still under control?
As far as I can tell, he's still ours.
So Hayward asking whether or not White Vision is still under his control indicates that he's really playing with stuff he isn't even mildly qualified to do. He knows there are risks involved. He knows no matter how much direct orders you give White Vision, at the end of the day he still has data to figure out the truth. Agent Wu picks his handcuff locks relatively easy with a safety pin.
Flourish.
Another reference that he probably hung out with Scott Lang a lot. That's why he knows how to hotwire cars and pick locks. But one thing though, no matter how much we blame Hayward here, at the end of the day, he's the reason we will continue to see Paul Bettany's Vision in the MCU. Had he not come up with an idea of bringing Vision back online, there would have been no White Vision. Therefore, this scene of unlocking memories would also have never taken place. So yes, he was kinda right when he said this.
They'll thank me for recovering such a valuable asset.
I mean, he has good detective skills. When he said Agent Wu was bluffing, that was true as well. All I'm saying is his character is kinda well written as well, and I'd like to see more of it in the future. Wanda looks for Vision and Agatha Harkness, where she meets Dennis the mailman, who says the exact same dialogue again that he said in episode 2.
Don't shoot, I'm just a messenger. Don't shoot, I'm just a messenger.
Agatha then mentions how Wanda has an entire chapter devoted to her in the Darkhold, which confirms that this book that we saw in Agatha's dungeon was in fact the Darkhold. Is there any doubt anymore that Marvel is slowly turning Wanda into a villain just like in the comics? Now notice when Agatha summons the Darkhold, there's some ancient Sanskrit literature written on it, probably a reference to magic being practiced in ancient India. Thanks to one of my viewers from India for sending me this detail. Agatha continues describing who Scarlet Witch is really supposed to be, that she isn't born but forged, and she doesn't even need any incantation, meaning Wanda doesn't need to say out loud her spells before casting it, unlike Agatha, who needs to verbally say it before casting it. And then comes the first WTF moment of this episode. Agatha officially makes it clear that Scarlet Witch in her true form is more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme, aka the Ancient One.
Your power exceeds that of the Sorcerer Supreme.
It means Wanda should be capable of feats of magic that would be beyond even the Ancient One. But keep in mind, Earth currently doesn't have any Sorcerer Supreme. Doctor Strange is yet to receive that mantle. Think about this. Someone who has the ability to foresee 14 million alternate futures, someone who could counter Thanos relatively easy, is not the most powerful being in the MCU. It's Scarlet Witch. Agatha says it's Wanda's destiny to destroy the world, which takes me all the way back to Thor Ragnarok. I mean, every time Marvel says something has to be destroyed, it gets destroyed sooner or later, but this actually predicts where the MCU is headed right now. Maybe Marvel is really on its way to make Scarlet Witch a foolproof villain. Agatha then shows the impact of Wanda's chaos magic, how it has affected all the residents of Westview, how they're all getting nightmares whenever they sleep. But Wanda genuinely didn't know these people were in pain. She thought when she created this hex, everything inside was just perfect, but in reality they were all feeling Wanda's pain. Now it turns out fake Pietro isn't really connected to the X-Men universe. He's one of the residents of Westview, who is a professional actor as we can see from one of his headshots. His real name is, Ralph Boner. Now I kinda am a bit disappointed because of this twist, because it honestly would have made more sense if he was really connected to the X-Men universe. Mostly because I love Evan Peters and using him just for a few laughs doesn't justify the level of range he has as an actor. But notice his surname though. This is obviously a joke, but what if he's the person Jimmy was searching for? Maybe he just simply changed his name and now living in Westview. I mean, it could happen, right? But you know what? Enough of this theories, let's talk about real stuff. Notice this paper bill Monica was holding, which belongs to, well, Ralph Boner. There's a huge spike of usage in the month of October, which is a great Easter egg because Endgame takes place in October 2023, so Ralph was probably blipped as well. He came back when Hulk reverse snapped, and that's why there's such a spike in usage. We come to know Agatha basically crashed in this house and pretended she's married to Ralph, but Monica wonders how she is controlling him. And remember back in episode 7 where Monica could see the purple magic surging through the vines in the basement? Even Wanda couldn't see him. So with this ability, she figured that Agatha is using the necklace to control Ralph. So this necklace was probably what gave Ralph his super speed ability. But lads, I'll still hold on to the train that he's from the X-Men universe. You wouldn't just cast Evan Peters for a few laughs. We see both Visions are still fighting while the twins are watching from their window. Here we get another glimpse of Billy's power, his ability of seeing flashes of the future. He sees his mother is in agony because of all the pressure put forth by the Westview residents, but that is yet to happen when he sees it, implying Billy can easily see the flashes of the future. Cuts back to Wanda, who is having to deal with the Westview residents. Out of her agony, she casts another spell unintentionally, making everyone choke on the ground. This isn't the first time something like this happened. Even back in Age of Ultron, when her actual brother died, her grief brought a spontaneous reaction as well. So whenever Wanda is having to deal with her grief, she really loses control over herself. Wanda slowly opens the hex and tells everyone to escape, which subsequently affects her vision. Now notice a detail I found here. Back in episode 6, when Vision was falling apart trying to escape the hex, he was falling apart in an hexagonal shape. But in the final episode, his broken pieces are in the shape of cubes. So why did they show hexagon shapes in episode 6? Because Marvel was giving us clues that this Vision isn't stolen from S.W.O.R.D. by Wanda. Instead, he's one of the creations of Wanda. A very clever Easter egg, I believe, and the twins are also disintegrating in similar shapes. This can also be a reference to the comics where we can see the same shapes. Plus, it makes sense, because Wanda created the hex in the shapes of cubes as well. And then this shot, just beautiful. A mother and a wife having to choose between her fake family and saving a bunch of innocent people. Agatha keeps absorbing more of Wanda's magic, draining her out of her own power. Enters White Vision and the whole team of S.W.O.R.D. So at this point, Wanda and her family are basically surrounded by not one but 3 different antagonists. Vision takes on White Vision, the twins take on the military, and Wanda takes on Agatha Harkness. Both Visions fly into a public library, where just beside White Vision we can see this poster. The library is the place to be. Does it ring any bell? Well, remember this guy? What happened to this guy? I hope we find out eventually though. Anyway, we see both Visions fighting relentlessly, and as soon as I was thinking this is getting more like Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, the superheroes flying through a building, punching each other on the face and whatnot. But as soon as I said it, it took a beautiful twist. A philosophical debate to resolve their problem. That too in a library. Now let's talk about the debate that settled all the issues between both Visions. Ship of Theseus is a thought experiment in which you decide whether a ship, which had all of its parts replaced over time, is in fact the same ship it was originally or not. This particular idea dates back to ancient philosophers. For instance, Theseus has a ship. It's made of planks, a mast, and some sails. Now, if one of the planks is damaged, you replace it. But does it mean it's a new ship? You'd probably say no. But what if you replace all the planks, all the sails, and the mast? At one point do you say it's no longer the same ship? Now imagine someone says it's still the same ship. Then what if you take all the material from the old ship and make a new one altogether? Now which one would be the ship of Theseus? It's kind of a paradox, but it resolves their issue peacefully, which is all that matters. And notice throughout the show we could see the sailboats in the background. This might be foreshadowing the ship of Theseus experiment all along, but we only notice it now. We then see Hayward literally shooting at Wanda's twins. They didn't need any help, but Monica stood in front of them regardless, shows her dedication for justice. The bullets do not kill her, but instead fly through her body, losing their kinetic energy. The comic book version of Monica can indeed absorb the kinetic energy of bullets into herself. This episode didn't really move her character forward, but the mid-credit scene sets her up for something really big. But what was this about? I was literally praising you a while ago, you idiot. Why the f would you shoot kids? It's like the writers are doing their best to make us hate him. But I'm also trying my best not to fall for that. But I know he's a bad dude and he should get punished, which he actually gets by none other than Darcy.
Have fun in prison!
Vision helps restore all of the memories to White Vision, and that's the last time we see White Vision in this episode as he flies somewhere else to look for answers, which opens the door for Paul Bettany, and he's sure to stay in the MCU now. Not as Wanda's Vision, but this newly resurrected Vision with all the original emotions and memories. This Vision also doesn't require the Mind Stone to stay alive, and as soon as his memories are restored, his eyes also transform into human eyes. Wanda then pulls one of her moves from Age of Ultron. Honestly, I was so happy to see this again. They use the same moves, the same effects, and even the same sound. She takes Agatha back to Salem, Massachusetts, where Agatha killed her mother and the rest of the witches. But the idea backfires immediately, as the dead witches recognize her as Scarlet Witch. They tie her up the same way they once did with Agatha Harkness, because she too used her powers for selfish reasons, and a being as powerful as her should only remain a myth. So for all of these reasons, they try to punish her. Come on, if they couldn't even withstand Agatha, do they even stand any chance against Wanda? Which brings our second WTF moment. This headdress around Wanda's head, resembling our comic accurate look. But this was only a teaser of what's about to come, wasn't it? Wanda sets herself free from the spell and comes back into the hex. Wanda offers to surrender all her powers to Agatha, saying she doesn't need it, she doesn't want it. But notice, while surrendering her power, Wanda shoots some of it behind Agatha, missing the target by a huge margin, which actually confuses Agatha. What Wanda has essentially done here is cast runes all over the hex so that Agatha's spell do not work, which Wanda acknowledges she learned from Agatha herself. So you know why Agatha lost in this battle? Because of her big mouth. Spitting shit all over the place is basically what brought her to the ground. By the way, this scene is also a nod to Civil War, where Wanda pulled off a similar move. Agatha failing to realize what Wanda is really doing here, she kept absorbing all of Wanda's chaos power, which slowly started turning Wanda into a similar looking version of this witch, implying she isn't any mutant. She is really a witch by birth. Once Agatha gains most of Wanda's power, she shows her true colors. She says she cannot fix the hex, meaning she can't keep Vision and the twins alive outside the hex, because once a spell has been cast, it cannot be changed. So she lied to Wanda
About our deal, a spell can never be changed.
But thankfully Wanda had casted the runes, through which this time she's the one who started absorbing power from Agatha. So just to put things in perspective, Agatha Harkness had to bring Wanda in her basement dungeon to make sure Wanda cannot cast her spells, whereas Wanda just straight out brings the entire hex under the basic spell protection. So that's how powerful she is. Which brings us to our biggest WTF moment, probably the biggest of the series, Wanda becoming the Scarlet Witch. I can't believe Marvel pulled it off. They really did. Just look at how awesome this is. I mean, as a comic book reader, to be able to see it on screen is just, I don't know what to say, and I'm literally talking off of a script. This costume is significantly improved to avoid exposing too much cleavage, which will please Elizabeth Olsen. She has previously complained about how much cleavage Scarlet Witch's costumes show, so Marvel fixed it. Wanda casts another spell and turns Agatha Harkness back to Agnes, who will probably continue living in Westview. But notice what Agatha says just before that.
You have no idea what you've unleashed. You're gonna need me.
These two lines are basically what will bring her back in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and Scarlet Witch agrees too.
If I do, I know where to find you.
And yes, in the comics, every time chaos magic is used, it weakens the fabric of reality, potentially allowing Chthon to break through. It is likely that something similar is true in the MCU as well. Wanda then immediately comes to terms with all the losses she had in her life. She decides she will lift off her spell and lose her family because the people of Westview are suffering for no reason, and Vision agrees understandably. The hex boundary starts shimmering as Wanda and Vision say goodbye to the kids. You know what's awfully sad about this? Is that Billy can actually sense the future. This poor kid knew what was coming and still kept quiet because he didn't want to hurt his parents. And notice how Tommy has NASCAR posters on his wall because his superpower is based around super speed. And then the way Vision and Wanda stares at the twins, I knew what was coming. God, it broke my heart. And when Wanda said,
"Boys, thanks for choosing me to be your mom,"
I actually shed a tear, lads. This was painfully beautiful. And then comes another heartbreaking scene. This time, Vision saying goodbye to Wanda. But just before that, Wanda looks at her family photo. You notice in the background here, this looks like the same landscape location where Wanda lives in the post-credit scene. I'll explain it a little bit more at the end of the video. Thanks to one of my viewers for finding such an incredible detail. Now for one last time, Vision asks Wanda who he really is. And Wanda this time reveals the truth. He's a piece of the Mind Stone that lives inside of her. So that basically proves my theory correct from my last episode's breakdown. The Mind Stone did in fact create a backup of itself and stored it inside Wanda, which came out in the form of Vision. But that's not all. He's also her sadness and hope, and mostly her love. He has been a voice with no body, then a body but not a human. And this time he was all, but it wasn't real. God, I love this ending. The way this boundary was approaching him, the background score, Wanda caressing Vision's face, the twins probably dying in their sleep, the perfect ending to the most unusual show I've ever seen in my life. Now notice another detail here. When the hex was lifting off, it didn't just switch back to reality instantly. Instead, it went back decade by decade as Wanda had created it, from the 90s to 50s and eventually nothing. And notice this time Vision wasn't falling apart into pieces. He was disintegrating the exact way he was created. But pay attention to the Mind Stone. It still didn't disintegrate as the rest of his body. It just simply vanished into thin air. Probably went back inside Wanda. Wanda once again stands in front of the foundations of her home, losing everything she she thought she'd ever need. Wanda finds a little bit of comfort while speaking to Monica, who is the only one who seems to understand her pain. Wanda acknowledges she doesn't understand her own powers that led to all of this, so she will seek knowledge and learn to control it. Coming to the mid-credit scene, we see one of the Skrulls coming to Monica with a message, but pay attention to the background. It says Lurkin, which is a reference to Bob Lurkin, who is a famous comic book artist for Marvel. Now this message is probably sent by Nick Fury, who we saw the last time in a Sword's base located in space, in Spider-Man Far From Home. The reason he called her up is possibly because of this.
I could fly up and meet you halfway.
Oh, only if you learn to glow like your Auntie Carol.
This sets up Monica Rambeau to be a key player in Marvel's upcoming Secret Invasion series on Disney+, as well as Captain Marvel 2. And then the moment of truth, the post-credit scene, which ties its story directly into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We see Wanda living in a remote house in the mountains, which we previously saw in the family photo. I think it's a reference to Wanda Gore Mountain, which in the comics is the birthplace of Wanda and Pietro, and also the place where the Darkhold was written. We see Wanda preparing tea for herself, while in another room, her astral projection aka Scarlet Witch, just like Doctor Strange's astral projection, is going through the Darkhold, which is always a bad idea because she's literally reading the Darkhold. But I'll let you know this version of Darkhold is different from what we've seen in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's no longer canon in the MCU. And just when the episode ends, she hears the scream of her twins. Might be foreshadowing that by acquiring knowledge from the Darkhold, she managed to gain access to other realms, from which she might bring back her twins. And notice the background score while Scarlet Witch is reading the Darkhold is very similar to the ending score of Doctor Strange 1. I'll definitely explain the two post-credit scenes in a more detailed manner this week. And I know Billy and Tommy were not shown on screen literally dying, so that keeps a door open for both of them to appear in future projects, but I don't want to theorize anymore about this now and ruin this beautiful scene. So let's just enjoy the ending of the show. Sometimes the only way forward is back. And remember, family is forever. Fake or real, family is family. And that's it. With that, I bring an end to my weekly breakdowns of WandaVision. But don't worry, this episode had a lot more details than I could fit into this one video. I'll probably make a part 2 for all of you lads. And don't forget, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is almost there. And the behind the scenes of WandaVision is streaming next Friday on Disney+. Now, if I may, please visit my official Canadian Lad merch store at thecanadianlad.merchforall.com. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and grab the subscribe button for more breakdowns. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram to get behind the scenes of my videos. Till then, nobody's Mephisto, and I'll see you lads in the next one.